All right, let's stay with this conversation. And joining me now is Director of Programs at the Auwal Socio-economic Research Institute, Ebrahim Fakir. Thank you so much for your time. There are divided voices here, some saying that he should fall on his sword, others saying, no, it's not yet time. Does he just decide and resign right now? Is that what he's supposed to do, in your view?
Well, on the basis of the ethics and on the logic of Ramaphosa's own leadership postures, particularly his articulations in justifying both the Zondo Commission, the removal of the Secretary General inside the ANC on the basis of procedure and process. If you collectively take all of that, Bongiwe, his logic, if applied in his own instance, would mean that he would have to voluntarily resign, simply because the findings, contestable as they might be, tenuous as they might be, given the conditionalities which have been built into the report, the fact that there hasn't been exhaustive evidence, the fact that it's peppered with kind of mights, mays, should be, and so on, given the fact that they haven't had full evidence and so on, it is, of course, contestable. And so that makes all of that tenuous. The reality of the matter is that there are certain findings which find that he has both contravened his oath of office, the Constitution, and certain provisions in the law. And on that basis, of course, applying his own logic, he would have to voluntarily resign. He can contest this. He can probably play the same game that other colleagues of his in the ANC did, which is to tie it up in procedural knots, to obfuscate. I mean, the report's very long, and none of us have actually gone through it. So you could delay this for as long as is possible. But as I say, on the basis of his own logic and the basis of his own standards and principles that he has put forth, and defining his leadership tenure, I'm afraid he has to do that.
And I wonder, the ANC going into its NEC tomorrow, and of course we hear tonight some of the officials of the NWC will be meeting. Is this an ANC that is likely to close ranks like we've seen in the past around him, like we saw with other matters, or are these different voices that we are hearing right now a signal of just how tense things might be, and if maybe right now he might cut a lonely figure with just the grouping that has been supporting him?
Only things are always tense in the ANC. Things are always tense in that NEC meeting. So it's not anything new. It's not surprising. So this tenseness is characteristic usually of the way in which the ANC operates, particularly when there are such contentious issues on the table. And you know, every elective conference, the ANC and its alliance partners get further and further apart, and it's almost like they're bursting at the seams. And I don't think it's ever this bad. So he's unlikely to cut a lonely figure. There will be people around him. There will be people who will support him. There will even be people who will exhort him and find all kinds of rationales for why he should stay into office. Stability, the markets, the idea that the rand will tank, that we could really face stagflation in the face. I mean, interest rates are already high, inflation is already a problem, prices are a problem. It could just make things much worse if you go, Mr. President, you need to stay for stability's sake, for some level of cohesion, and so on. Unfortunately, that argument can't fly. We can't. If we take the logic that the ANC said they want to renew themselves, then they have to consistently apply the principles that they have established. One of the problems that characterized the ANC coming into this period is always been the inconsistency of the application of the rules, right? So I don't think he'll be that lonely, but he will have his detractors who will be paying for his blood. There will be a grouping which will surround him, and they will continue this fight. The problem, though, for the society is that you continue with not just the paranoia and the paralysis, you now add prevarication to this, and literally we will have very little decisiveness because everyone's looking over their back about what needs to happen. Everyone is indecisive in trying to work out in terms of the games which are now going to be played, where does the balance of power in ANC language now lie, and who should I align myself with? So we as a society can't afford those calculations.
And
those are things the ANC must engage in.
Definitely, and I'm told we're almost out of time, but very briefly, some are signaling that others are positioning themselves as they have been in the lead up to Nasrec. Do you think Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma might emerge now, given what is happening?
Anyone can potentially emerge, but let's also not confuse things here. The ANC has its own processes. The state has its own processes. We are a constitutional state. The Constitution prescribes what would happen when there is a vacancy in the office of the president. That person needs to take the helm. Now, if the ANC wants to start introducing complications such as it says in its Polokwane resolutions, the president of the ANC must be the president of the republic, and they must decide whether they can tolerate 3 weeks or 4 weeks of a caretaker president. But I don't think they should entertain that. We've got to consider the multiple problems of stability, continuity, some degree of cohesion, and we need a degree of calmness right now. People must stop getting embroiled in the kind of the hype and the paranoia that is going to surround all of this. The one problem is that the ANC might actually close ranks around Ramaphosa because they best perform when they believe they are under siege. But when they are under siege, they come with all kinds of conspiracy theories and hysteria. But I think the parties are a bit too far apart right now for even that to act as a gel to glue them together.
Yeah, let's see then what happens. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. It does look like it's going to be a minefield as to what happens next. That's the Director of Programs at the Auwal Socio-economic Research Institute, Ebrahim Fakir.